This is Getting Past Subtitles. My name is Sean Peel.
And I'm DK Lee.
And we're here in that time again. We're doing something exciting. Something that we have fun with in doing.
It's funny because it gets pushed further and further back in the year.
We say it's at the new year. And meanwhile, it's like almost March.
Oh, my. Yeah. Somebody would not upload.
I don't know what you're talking about.
On every week.
Wow. Christmas was crazy times, okay? I don't know what to tell you. No, we are doing another retrospective this time around. It's been long enough. I don't know, we really kind of enjoy it. You know, I don't think we've really had a miss. Not that we've done that many. We've only done like 3.
Yeah, but I mean, we pick pretty goated directors too.
It's true.
So
Yeah.
It's hard to be like, this sucked.
Who's gonna do a retrospective on a bad director? You know, this is. Am I gonna torture myself by watching 5 movies back to back from Michael Bay? No, I'm not gonna do that.
Hey, the first Transformer was not that bad.
It was okay.
I don't think it was that bad, to be honest.
Armageddon was okay. I kind of like Armageddon.
The first Transformers, I think, was pretty revolutionary for its time.
First time, 100%.
And I think that characterization was pretty good too, mostly for the Transformers themselves, and like the banter between, I forget his name, Shia LaBeouf's character. Yeah,
I don't know.
The banter between Bumblebee and Shia LaBeouf's character was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, after the first one was like cash grab after cash grab. So
it's like Hollywood full pedal, baby.
Yeah.
That's basically what Fast and Furious is turning into.
Well, yeah. Kind of sad. I think I heard that Bruce Willis has a dementia. So
yeah.
Sad.
That's crazy.
Sad.
One of our heroes.
Yeah.
We're in that time now, though. Like, honestly, everybody's getting old. Like, everybody's
every like star that we've seen.
Yeah.
Like in,
like in the epic,
movies.
like early 2000, like 90s movies.
2000 movies, 90s movies.
They're getting up
80s
there.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean,
it's hard.
Just like even like thinking about like Morgan Freeman, dude. He's like,
it's crazy.
He's ancient now.
It's crazy. Every time I see Jim Carrey, I'm like, oh my god.
Jim Carrey. Yeah.
I'm like, Ace Ventura, what happened to that guy?
I mean, even thinking about like Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah,
like, dude.
Leonardo
DiCaprio, like, they're all getting.
They are getting. I mean, Brad Pitt looks phenomenal still, but
yeah.
But still,
yeah. I mean, still, it's like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but I think particularly like Leo. I think for me in my mind, Leonardo DiCaprio has such a like, just like when he's younger, like a very iconic like looking young.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about like Titanic, right? Just like that kind of Leo.
Yeah, exactly.
When he's young.
Yeah, but now it's and he's he's great for a reason, like he's persistent, like Inception and all those times, but as he's reaching up and up and up, it's like it's hard to think.
Like even like Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Getting old.
I saw Man from Otto.
Man Named Otto.
Man Called Otto. That's
Man Called Otto.
Did you see that?
I want to though. I heard it was good.
Yeah, it's good. It's not bad. It's pretty standard. I saw it twice. So I actually saw a screening from it. So I saw it a year before it came out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did it change from?
For the most part, no. There were some slight differences that they did. I think there was some like. It's funny watching old and a new one. I think they made some cuts that kind of sped up some pacing things. Most of the time the VFX is never done when you go see a screening, so obviously those were done. So it's cool to see like, oh, that looks really good now, or they're like, oh, that still looks pretty rough. But for the most part, it was basically one for one. They didn't really change. They definitely didn't change any beats or anything like that. The biggest thing, this was so dumb, dude. So at the end of the movie, right? I'm not spoiling it, but the main character. Tom Hanks, who plays Otto, like buys a new truck, and clear brand placement, like it's Chevrolet. It's like their biggest like truck. It's like super brand new, like he's very like old school, so it's like kind of, him like whatever. But like, it's like obviously like, oh, this is a new truck. It's like big heavy duty, blah blah. Very nice looking truck. So in the screening, it was it was like a big heavy duty, like white truck, and then they changed it, but they VFX'd over it to like an EV. Like a giant EV truck. That's a concept truck. It's not even not even a legit truck.
Wow.
Like it's like it doesn't even exist yet.
What the?
And it looked so bad. It straight up looked like
a Chevrolet truck though.
It was Chevrolet still. Yeah. But they replaced the truck with like, but it literally looked like like you took a concept image and like sketched around it. And like in Photoshop, patched it onto like an object and like keyed it so that way like in 2D it looks like a paper thing.
Wow.
Bad, dude. Bad.
Interesting. I wonder why they did that.
Probably because like everything is going to EV now.
So
and like a lot of automobile companies
they want to be conscious of it.
Yeah, they want to be conscious of it. They want to push that they're being EV positive, and that's like the way of the future. So.
I guess it was a year later, right?
Yeah, it was a whole year later. So none of the VFX were done.
No, that's kind of dumb still.
But it just looked so bad. It was dumb, but it looked so bad, dude. But it was just funny to see like a huge gas guzzling truck to be, and they changed the sound. Like the EV, like they changed the sound when the car drove to like it was so bad. I was like, ugh. So wrong.
Anyways,
but
people are getting old.
But he looks. My point was anyway.
He looks all right.
He looks old in that movie. I was like, man, he's kind of aging.
He is. I mean, he's an old dude now.
He's an old dude. Still got it.
He ain't no Forrest Gump no more. You can't run like that.
Yeah. Not at all. Not at all. But that comes with time. Yeah. So. Where did this rant start again?
I don't
know.
But anyways, we're gonna go back to our retrospective.
Yeah. Who this time we've talked about? Do you remember what our last retrospective? It was Park Chan-wook, right?
Yeah.
So we did Korea twice because we started with the inception of the series was with Bong Joon-ho, and then we did
Kurosawa.
That's right. And then we did Park Chan-wook. Went back to Korea. And we wanted to do something different. We wanted to go somewhere else. So we decided, you wanted to do China, or a region of China. And Hou Hsiao-hsien came up. And so, because he's not non-film writers. We watched A Time to Live and A Time to Die, which he did. That was like 80.
That was for like the family series, I think, that we did it for, right?
Yeah. Which probably would have worked better for coming of age in the glorious.
Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about our serious naming and conventions because like sometimes they're a hit, sometimes they're a miss, and a lot of times when it misses hard.
At least we're double downing, But no, but I like that movie a lot, actually.
Me too.
I remember liking that movie a lot, and it was very. It definitely had a very like a cute identity to itself. Very like slice of life, very like slow, very like kind of slow paced and a like atmospheric movie.
And I can see a lot of that in this movie that we watched today too.
100%. There was no surprise with that.
You can definitely see that he has grown into that style.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And because the Time of the Time that was a little early, but I feel like it was kind of.
It was earlier, yeah.
Yeah. But he'd done a lot of things before that too.
Yeah.
So, I think when we, in the previous episode when we announced this, we we didn't announce it.
What?
The Hou Hsiao-hsien thing. So we're gonna because I thought we said no, we didn't.
I thought we did.
Did we?
Yeah, and then we said we were gonna watch Cute Girl first, but unfortunately.
The USA sucks.
Yeah, so we were gonna watch his very first movie, Cute Girl. I think it was 1980.
Yeah,
that it came out. But unfortunately, we're unable to find a place to watch it, or even we saw like a few places like on Amazon to buy like DVD and stuff, but they were from like UK and stuff like that. And if we were to try to get it, and watch it in time, it would probably not be feasible.
Yeah.
And so we've decided to just
Reverse the list
and watch the latest movie of his, The Assassin First, which is what we're gonna talk about today. And then we're gonna just go down the list. But I think we might even just change our very first movie into something else.
And if anything else comes up, we'll have to see if the other one. I think the other ones should be accessible.
Yeah.
But it's more convenient. Like just recording a schedule, we could do The Assassin first. Millennium Mambo would be next. That's obviously pretty available. And as we go down, some of his earlier stuff is a little more harder to kind of dig up. So, but if you live in the UK by any chance, you should talk to us because I know that movie's available.
Yeah.
But it is more feasible to just do newer to older and then update on the list and see where we can get there. Yep. So kind of backwards, we always go beginning to end on a retrospective. So this will be a new take for us.
But I mean, other series we've done like forward and backward. I guess it didn't really matter. But I guess in terms of like the years, we go forward and backwards. That's really.
Yeah, when we talk about like somebody's works, right? Like so their projects through their life. So
yeah, but it might also be cool to see their
backward.
Like their where they are now and then where they've come from before, like just different ideas that they've had before, and and I think, I mean, great directors, I think, have movies that stand on their own regardless of how much they. It's a progress, right? But in the midst of that progress, I think you can see something brilliant in them in those movies. So I think it'll still be a cool retrospective to do. Yeah,
no, agreed. But yeah, so this week we watched The Assassin, which is his last work thus far, and this came out in 2015. So it's getting there. It's a little. Yeah, it's a little dated.
I actually saw it in the New York Film Festival. Oh. Well, I didn't see it. Like I didn't see the movie there, but I saw like the what do you call it? Like the programming for it. Yeah, and I was gonna watch it, but I just didn't have the time. That was when I was going to school. I was in college. Dang. And yeah, like I really wanted to go watch it because I just thought it was an interesting, first off, the poster for it looks so like good,
legit.
Yeah, and like, if you watch the movie, like you're like, any of these frames could have been the poster for the movie, right? So like it was just kind of like that. And I really wanted to go watch it, but I just never, I just didn't have the time back then. Yeah. But yeah, now
full circle.
Many years later, watching it, and I'm just kind of sad that I wasn't able to watch it then, because I probably should have, because it would have been really cool to watch it on a big screen.
Definitely the biggest thing. It felt like a disservice to watch it on my laptop. Yeah. For other reasons that we'll talk about too, but I think the most clearest thing and like the best aspect about the movie is just like the way it looks, just like the image of it, and watching it, just to watch it on a big screen just feels like the proper way to watch this movie, just in many aspects of how it was made and how it's made. It just definitely feels like a cinematic movie, and something that should just be played on a projector, nice and wide,
And the shots, like we talked about, it's very reminiscent of like A Time to Die and to Live.
Yeah.
Just like the shot selection, the framing, the movement, a lot of that. Like, I think he really like has found like the style, and he really sticks to that style. Yeah. And the color in this movie as well, I think really. There's something else. There's just so much going on, and yet they harmonize so well. And I think that all of that makes for a very pleasing movie to watch.
Yeah, it's funny because this movie feels like I think the biggest thing was for me is like transportive, but even the way it's made, like thinking about A Time to Live and A Time to Die, just taking him from the 80s in that time and how that movie was made, and like if he time traveled to 2015, which is a modern time, like it's really not that long ago, even though it feels like it. But like technology has advanced so far, you know, like it's such a different world, obviously, than that time, particularly as well when, you know, in his region in Taiwan. But it feels like you could have that same person just came to like 2015
and made a movie now.
And made a movie. Like if you just gave him like the same materials, you know, it's like, okay, here's a film camera, you know, like here's like vintage lights and stuff, like make a movie in this time, you know. It feels like this movie could have been made in the 80s.
Yeah,
you know, it feels.
And I think the 4:3 aspect ratio also helps in kind of creating that feeling. Yeah, like
very vintage.
Yeah, and it's something that I really like about his movies and find appealing is the fact that a lot of times he doesn't move the camera too much, and yet he's still able to make interesting shots and also use he's confident in when he moves the camera, and he's not afraid to not move the camera and just let things happen the way they happen.
Yeah, right.
And that's something that, like, you know, even for me, you know, when I'm trying to make a film or something, sometimes I feel like, oh, maybe I should just move the camera a little bit just to kind of give it some energy, or like, you know, make something happen that's apart from what's in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And I think that his confidence in his own material and what he has in front of the screen, the mise en scène and everything else, is something that, like, something that I kind of can learn from as well. You know? Like just the fact that all of those things, like he's okay with the fact that if there's something covering the screen and the actor, you can't see the actor,
he's like, fine.
And he just still goes with it, right? Like there's so many scenes in this movie where there's like a curtain or like a sheer, right, that's like moving around, and when there's like the most like there's not a lot of dialogue in this movie, but when there is, like it's kind of scarce, but like, you know, it's an important part, right? Like they're saying something. Yeah. And so when that sheer is blocking the moment when he's talking, when the character is talking, like as a person, like watching, as a person, like as a filmmaker, I would be like, oh man, do I need another take of this? Like to get that like moment when he's like actually like talking and we can see him. Right. And, you know, I think he, you know, Hou Hsiao-hsien is kind of like, no, I like it that way. I think that's, you know, how it should be. And I think that takes a lot of confidence in what you have.
Yeah. It's funny, like it works in reverse, because as filmmakers, and like if you're a director or like a cinematographer or whatever your role and job is in film, like you're making something happen. Like you're obviously putting together this piece that is a film, and that inherently like wants you to have control,
right?
And you want, like, obviously you have control of making it happen, but you're always thinking about that control and like, okay, I have to put the camera here. Like I said, if it's dialogue, like what needs to be focused on, it's the subject, it's the character who's talking, you know. And if anything kind of distracts something for that moment, then it's like, all right, let's do another take, or I want that specifically.
And it's the idea of like perfection, right? Like I want that perfect shot of the person talking.
Yeah.
You know, like we have that idea of like everything kind of needs to be perfect, or like we want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, being okay with the imperfections,
right,
give the shot life and give it like that feeling of authenticity almost.
It's like I said, for watching it, you feel that the focus like isn't on the filmmaking itself, but it is a mise en scène. It is Like,
it is what it is in front of the screen.
It's the setting, it's the characters, it's everything that's in front of you. So everything is like, there's hardly no close-ups in this movie, you know? Everything it's like at least a wide shot or a medium shot.
Yeah.
And it's because we're just, there's always so much in a frame. Like it really adds to like, this is the time era that it's in, this is the setting. Like everything, like the art department did awesome. Like everything just really takes you back to like that Tang Dynasty and that period and all the costumes and things like that. And even just, there's so many, even like subjects on frame, like it's always a main character and somebody else, you know, even the non-important people, just like the aristocrats and you know, the cleaning crew or the kids, like all these people are like almost add like as a decorative element to it, you know. But like I said, like even though what's happening is like dialogue or the main character is going through something, like it's never focused on like we're just getting a close up of him or like we're zoning in on him. It's like, how does this person? It's like interacting with everything around them, you know. Like that's what we're constantly like watching the setting.
Yeah,
and I said that's a huge, like, brave thing to do.
Yeah,
should be like. It's like where I would just want to capture what they're doing, not focus on like what I want to do with what's happening. Yeah. You know,
it's like the way like his framing and his shots kind of lend the story to feel like almost a legend. Like it feels like it feels almost otherworldly in certain respects. And that's a lot of it is because of some of the like outdoor shots, I think, really help with that. Like the beautiful like mountains and
it's all
like,
very surreal.
And the forests and it gives that very surreal feel to it, or even just like a feeling that like this is part of a legend, like a legend like a long time ago, and somebody's like telling the story of this assassin or whatever.
Right.
Kind of feels like that, and it helps because like a lot of the elements of it too, it's not so relatable in the sense that like it's not like I can really understand what this assassin is going through, because there's not a lot of exposition in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not given like the inner monologue of this character, or like the internal conflict of this character. Like you just see them do things and you're kind of watching it, and it's almost as if like a storyteller, like a bard or something, way back when, is like gathering all the people together in front of the fireplace, campfire, and he's telling the story of these characters. And in my mind, I'm like drawing out these like landscapes and these characters, and the way that they act and the things that they say are very like pointed. It's just like these straightforward things that they say, and then we're kind of meant to digest it and think about it in whatever way we would.
Right.
But it's not so. It's not like the conventional narrative storytelling that we get, where like we're in the character's POV and we understand where they are, and we get this real like broad understanding of the character, and we are made to feel like we're part of the character.
Right.
And it's a very different type of way of storytelling and filmmaking, but I think that it lends itself to this like legendary feel of this story.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's definitely what I felt when I was watching this. There's like zero internalization with any of the characters, like you said, and actually for the most part, they're so unexpressive.
Yeah,
they express zero emo. The main character says like 3 words the entire movie and has like a straight face.
And like you said, a lot of times it's not a close up, so they're far away, and we see their body gestures and movements, but you're not really seeing so much of their like face.
Right.
And that's another thing, like we talked about. That's a pretty like you have to be really confident in what you're doing to be like to deprive the audience of the chance to connect with the character by seeing their face.
Yeah, and it's like, and ultimately the movie really isn't about that. Like
it isn't. Yeah,
it is. It's about like it's really just about like the broad kind of story of it, like which adds to the very fairy tale. This is it's a legend sort of thing. You know, you think of like it's like kind of like a generic story. It feels like, which it definitely is.
It's a fairly simple story, right?
Yeah, which is like it is against the grain of what you think of movies nowadays and conventional narrative and what films have kind of evolved to. It's funny because like I'm reading that book and it's a lot about this. It's a lot about kind of what we're talking about.
Which one are you reading right now? I gave you 2, right?
You did. The one I'm directing.
The Mamet one?
Yeah, Mamet one.
On directing?
Yeah. It's very much like
it's very much about like just like thinking about where the camera would be and the most optimal like
way
where it's like just like a very simplistic, this is how it should be, right? Like this is what we're showing, then it is what it is.
Well, it's not even about like the camera, it's about like what you need to capture. Like,
exactly, like where the camera needs to be,
right.
To just get that shot. It's not like about all these like.
It's about what you're capturing and not how to capture, right? Yeah. And this kind of like is in that vein where the movie is very efficient and very not expository at all, you know. And I don't know. It's thinking about it like if it helps or hurts. I think it like garnishes another like a second watch, because it's hard to like break away from that conventional like when you're watching a movie mold. And I'll say like I didn't particularly enjoy the movie that much when I was watching it the first time, just because like if you're looking at the story elements are so simple, and it's hard to like there are still some elements that I really don't understand about the movie and some plot beats and characters that I'm like, who were they? What were they doing there? Like, why did that sort of happen? You know, like for example, it's still the whole like the shaman guy who like cast a spell on the wife or the mother. Like,
I think it was the concubine. So
okay.
like it was you know like the dance scene.
Yes,
that dancer was the one that was pregnant.
Right.
Well, and you know the lord or whatever. Tianjin. Yeah, he probably got her pregnant.
Yeah.
And he has, you know, his wife, who was the one that like, you know, he goes like with the sword and he was about to like smack the kid with the sword, right?
Right.
Yeah, that was his wife, and you know, the assumption is that she was the one who ordered the shaman to curse the concubine. I think her name's like Huji or something like that.
Got it.
Because you know she's jealous or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
so the assumption is like that's that whole part of the story. Yeah,
and that's like to my point, right? Because nothing is internalized or there's literally zero exposition through the movie. The plots are just kind of tumbling, and you're really never sticking with a single character the entirety of the time. You're just watching the story unfold, and you're watching the characters when it's relevant to, you know, as a plot progresses. That's easy to kind of like slip through the cracks of things. Nothing's ever explained to you, so when something happens and if you don't immediately kind of like click or understand what's going on, like unless you go back and like really like evaluate and think it, the movie isn't gonna like explain it to you or tell you, right? And it's just gonna kind of keep moving at its same pace, so it kind of snowballs.
When you watch like movies like this, it's kind of like you almost have to do some detective work. Like you're like, as you're watching the frames, like the shots go by, you have to kind of like think about what was in the shot and who's what and what's going on, and that makes for like a very engaging movie for me, I think, in terms of like the focus that I have to watch the movie and enjoy it.
Right.
Because other movies, it's like they're kind of spoon feeding it to you.
Right.
Whereas this movie, you really have to like go and get it. Like it's like you're hunting for that animal in order to get the food. Whereas like, you know, other movies, like probably Puss in Boots if we're gonna watch it. Like that's probably gonna be like spoon feeding you all of it, right? And giving you it directly. Actually, this movie kind of reminds me, like the style of it too. Reminds me a lot of like Ozu's films as well, like just kind of that the framing of it and the way that he tells a story in not so like direct, like spoon feeding type of way.
Yeah.
Also, Robert Bresson. I don't know if you ever watched Robert Bresson's movies.
I don't believe so.
But yeah, like a lot of it has to do with just showing what's in front, like in the frame, in the shot. And like it's about like putting things together from like a shot to another shot and then having the audience like just understand, like get from that what they will kind of thing. And it's a really interesting, I think it really invites the audience to engage with the movie in a way that I think other times other movies kind of fail to do.
Yeah. It's a movie that does feel like it goes back to the roots of like what film is. It's like, and again, like back to the book, it's like the story is told through uninflected cuts and like shots, right? It's like the story gets untold through the cut, and it is a visual medium, so you kind of infer and are supposed to like infer the knowledge and be told a story through the image, and from one shot to the second shot to the third shot, and then that equals whatever, right? And this movie very much feels like it is going back to that very, very basic principle of it, and that like and then sometimes like it works, and that I pick it up. It's like I could easily like the way that I could explain the movie very baby like. It's like, oh, like there's an assassin. She fails at like her hit job. She gets tested. She's got to go back to kill this one dude. Turns out to be her ex-lover. Doesn't kill that guy. And like it, and even if you think like how a scene unfolds, the way like the things are shot, it is very like placed, like Ozu and things like that. It shoots for like the beat. Like I'm thinking, like in my mind now, I'm thinking like that scene where the assassin, she's like making herself known to Tianjin. And like know that she's like, around the area, and that like she's an assassin, so like she's inferring that like I'm here to assassinate you, essentially. But she makes it very purposeful that her presence is around. Like she gathers like all those she's like fighting 20 soldiers at one time, right? And it's like, okay, like the beat is like alarming the soldiers, right? And like drawing attention to herself, and all it is like it's a couple of shots, but it's like it's a super wide shot of like from a distance of like all these soldiers like chasing her down and fighting her, and then like a couple of in the scene moments of her like fighting them and running away, and fighting them and running away, that sort of thing. And then like the last shot in that scene is I think it's the wife and like a couple of her other subjects are with her, and she notices from a distance like something's going on over there,
some woman in black robe or whatever.
And then the next scene is she's talking with her husband. It's like there's a lady in black that's like
trying to kill you
it was very basic, right? But like that is the principles of it, right?
Like it's like you're adding all these shots up together to create something.
And it's never like, and it's not in dialogue that it's explained to you.
Right.
It's all through the imagery and through the action that's happening.
Like whenever there is dialogue, it's a lot of times it's like a character like telling another character to do something, or like it's very in the world kind of dialogue where it's like, I want you to do this, or like can you go there or something like that, and it's not necessarily about like wink wink, like audience, this is what's happening in this story right now. Like I'm gonna explain to you what is what's going on. It's not really like that. So a lot of times, even with the dialogue, you're kind of confused. You're like, okay, so what are they talking about?
Right.
And and a lot of times, like you just kind of move forward with that information, and then the scene after that kind of informs you of like what they were talking about before. So like, let's say like this guy was like, Tianjin was like, oh yeah, you're gonna go escort the other guy to this place. And the big, like when I first heard was like watching the movie, I was like, I don't really like get why or like where, and then later on, like, you know, they get ambushed, and then
exactly,
and then all that happens. You're like, oh, okay, so like that's kind of all part of that,
right? I felt the exact same way with that scene. It's like, even to like, who is he banishing exactly? Like, you know, I like realized like, oh, because he got fed up with in the beginning of the movie, right? He like
got
he lashes out at that one aristocrat, and then basically like banishes him from his government,
and he gets a stroke.
yeah. Quote unquote. And then they're gonna, I guess they're gonna bury him alive or something. They're just gonna
something like that. And then he wanted him to escort him just in case for the. I guess he knew that there was gonna be like somebody might need to like. He's like high value target. You know. So just making case. Sure, So he had the escort and everything, and then
but like what I failed to know was that apparently so the assassin's name is Ni Yanying, and that's her father.
Oh no, the one who was escorting was the father.
Oh
yeah, not the one who was getting escorted.
That was getting escorted.
Yeah.
Okay.
The escorter was the father.
Okay.
Yeah. So Tianjin tells the uncle to escort, right? That uncle is the
escortee. Okay.
The uncle is the father of Yanang or Yan Ang or whatever.
Yan Yang.
I don't know how to say her name. Her name's kind of hard to say. Yang or something like that.
So the uncle is the father.
Oh, Yang.
Okay. So she was rescuing her dad.
Basically,
yeah. So who was the escorter then?
That was the escorter. You mean escortee?
The escortee.
That was the one who got the stroke.
Oh, okay. So just like some random.
He was the aristocrat that was like.
That was like Okay. I guess that makes sense in the scene because there's a lot of like shots of him and he's like, my daughter's fucking shit up.
Yeah, I was like looking at him. I was like, oh damn.
He's just silently there, like, damn.
He got wounded, right? Like he got shot in the back.
Yep.
And then I think she takes Yang and I don't know exactly who the younger one.
Yeah, the one
like,
was initially fighting.
Who was
them.
like getting the water, and then he comes back, and then he was initially fighting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's like a brother or something.
It's a relative of some kind. I know.
But they go to the village after that, right? And then try to recover there.
They're like, oh yeah, we gotta. And then they meet the mirror polisher, and that whole thing takes its course. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like, we're talking about like just image. It is just a very beautiful movie altogether. And I do think it's like, again, like it is a very basic storytelling movie, which, you know, can work in its favor or not, like depending how you want to look at it. But I do think like the biggest focus was the image aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
And like as I was like reading some interviews and some things from Hou, that was also like a big focus for him, which is kind of like the setting and really transporting into like accurately portraying this time and this era, just being very like, I don't want to say atmospheric, but just very focused on the era.
Yeah, like that world.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, I'm just like, I talked about it before, but like just like it felt like where he placed the camera was the perfect place to place the camera almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes when you watch a movie, you kind of have the feeling like, oh, you could have also placed it here, or like, you know, you could have also like placed it here, or like maybe you could have just panned for this one instead of like whatever. Like you kind of have like ideas of like other possibilities.
Yeah.
But for this movie, I feel like a lot of times like that shot looks so like, oh, that's great. Like that's where it should be almost like, and that's something that's like hard to do a lot of times because, you know, like you feel like there are so many possibilities, and to like, and you know, going back to the on directing, it's like there is that place where you need to put that camera to get that shot.
Yeah, you got to make a decision.
Right, and a lot of times I just feel like he just knows that place, you know, and he's just getting that shot that you need for that moment, and that's something like really that is like something to learn from, I think.
Well, it's funny because I think like as I was looking into it, a lot of what dictated camera placement and just like how to shoot things was dictated by the moment or by the scenery. You talked about it's funny because you watch it, some of the things, and it's almost like a fantasy like way of filmmaking, like an almost perfect, like every director's dream of shooting it, because they're like trekking through like, you know,
the perfect like area.
China. Yeah, they're like, and they got like this perfect scenery locations.
And they have like the perfect foreground, midground, background, like of like the mountains.
There's like some behind the scenes stuff, and it's literally just like, it looks like a pilgrimage, because the crew is just like walking on a pilgrimage of like through like this beautiful like mountainous area, and they're like, oh, that's perfect, and they just like set up shop right there, and like, we're gonna shoot on this cliff. Like, you know, like it's like the way they made it was exactly like
there
that.
was this one shot that I was like, damn, this is such a like beautiful looking shot, but there's not even anyone in it, you know, like that. There was a shot of like a lake with like trees, and it was just like blue and then shadow of the trees, and it was like fog, and you're like, damn, this is such a nice shot. You know, like, to be honest, like, you don't even need this shot technically, because there's nothing in there that's like really telling the story,
so irrelevant,
but it's so relevant for like the world building of the you know what I mean, like, it's like, damn, like, I know, I can see why you wanted to put that in the movie.
Well, like he was saying that, like, I think in interviews, somebody asked him, it was like how much research did you put into this, and like what kind of were a lot of influences to make this movie, because this is based off of a short film from like the 19th century, and I think this has been like a long idea project of his since he was younger, and he just kind of like one of those, it just kind of like pushed this along. He's like, I don't know if I was ready to make it when I was younger, and he's like, now that I'm older, I feel like I can tackle this project, that sort of ordeal. And he was like, yeah, I did. He did a lot of research on like the era, and like a lot of it that you can contribute to the art department, and like, you know, the way that not only how like socially in the class was, and the main things between like the man and woman, and how, you know, they kind of like occupy their space, and things that can and can't do, and what they wore, and how things were decorated, etc., etc. But he said a lot of the research wasn't even like writing; it was more paintings for him, and he was like going through like a lot of paintings and a lot of art from that time, and a lot of that kind of was part of his research and sort of like dictated the style that he put into it, and it's so pretty clear.
You can definitely see that
when you're watching it. It does feel like something ripped out of a painting, or like just so in love with like nature for the most part in this movie, you know.
But like going back to just the framing, just because I just feel like there's so much to talk about for the framing. It's like, even when he pans the camera, right, like, it's like it starts from one frame that looks good, like, and then he knows where he's gonna start, and he knows where he's gonna end for a frame. You know what I mean? Like let's say like the character is like moving from like right to left, and then he frames it again in the second, you know, at the end of the shot, and it's like it's a perfect like perfect you know, using the thirds and everything of one character and another character, or like the scene in the woods when she fights the other assassin. Right, and then after they finish, not the master, but like the masked assassin in the trees, the white trees. And after they finish fighting and they walk, right, they start walking, and it's a perfect, it's like a split, but it's like they're splitting like this way, right? That one's going like away from the camera, one's kind of coming towards the camera. And just that like juxtaposition of those two characters, and like as they move, the camera pans, and and like they're moving further away, but it kind of looks like they're also like moving towards the left side.
Right.
And it's just like it's such a nice like framing wise, it's such a like well like it's such a good composition, like well composed shot.
Yeah.
Like to like have that in mind, as well as all the story stuff. Although like story stuff is not as like important in that, but like just like the fact that like you're able to compose that shot in a way that doesn't feel like any part of that movement is like lesser.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like in movies, like there is a shot and going from the first frame to the second, you know, ending frame, it feels like the middle part is just like throwaway, right? It's just a means to get to the end of that shot.
Sure.
But for his movies, like his shots, a lot of times even the movement towards that end frame looks like it's like purposeful. Like there's like it looks good as it's going to that moment, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something that like a lot of times like it requires a lot of like I think previs, like thinking about like how that shot's gonna go.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's also that shot of the master on the mountain, and then like he pans to the right, and then and then he like she's coming from the bottom and up, and then they get that nice shot, nice framing and nice composition of both of them. Yeah. Like the master's up top and she's down below. Like thinking about that in a way that creates, it's a single shot, but it creates from one beginning, and also the very starting shot of the mountain, that whole range looks so beautiful as well, right? And then you go into that shot. So it's like every moment of that whole like sequence, that shot, it's just one shot, to be honest. It's just a pan. Yeah. Right? It's honestly it's just a pan. That's all it is. But the fact that like every moment of that pan looks so good. Yeah. It is a testament to how much he's like thinking about how the shot should look. Yeah. And I think I just said it in a very convoluted way, but yeah, like it really is like something that you can learn, like from like just the act of like thinking about the shot, like really thinking about the composition of the shot before actually taking it.
Right. Yeah, and like also to that, I do think like, again, going back to like efficiency and like the way of, like composing your shots, like even that scene with the other assassin and they're fighting in the woods, it's not a long scene. No. You know, they fight for like a couple frames and then she's like, I bested you, and her face mask breaks in half, you know, and then they go their separate ways. It's a very short-lived fight and short-lived interaction, but it is told very concise and to the point. And I think that like limitation also breeds like, you know, limitation breeds creativity, and that breeds just like, how do I compose this in the best
how do I convey that in a way? Yeah.
It's like, that is efficient. It's like everything in one, basically. You know, it's like, how do I do this efficiently, but also make it look.
Yeah, there's so much packed into the shot, like into that one shot, right?
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, that carries weight throughout the whole movie as well, you know. Like I said, like in that scene with that final scene with the master and her, and a lot of that, and for the most part of that shot, like, Yin Yang isn't even in it. Yeah, it's just the master sitting on top of the edge of the cliff
until they pan a little
bit, and it like comes back. Up, you know, it like sets the scene, and it's very beautiful painting, you know. And also just like, that's why I was saying, like, even when they like made it, they really, what they kind of dictated the shot was just like the moment and nature and scenery, because like the fog comes up like at the perfect time, you know. And it's like, it's not like it is static, but it's not like we're just watching one little figure on top of this mountain and like nothing is like, no wind is breezing, like nothing is going on, like it's just a blue sky. Like, no, like nature is kind of taking its course, like you like kind of see the wind.
Nature is also part of that
right. Yeah.
Like what makes it feel alive,
right? Yeah. So it's like perfectly captured like oh, this is the moment like the fog is like coming over the cliff and it's like overtakes the whole like frame, you know?
Yeah.
And then Yin Yang comes into that and then like progresses with you know what that beats.
And what they have like 2 lines of dialogue.
Yeah,
and you can't even see their faces, right?
Because we're so far away. She's just like keeps bowing.
Yeah,
like, and she's very apologetic, you know. But it's like, but again, like that's like a good amount of information that's being fed to you with the littlest of effort, you know. So that is masterful. I think like at the end of the day, that is a mastery of your craft, right? So yeah, no, it's really interesting. I'm thinking about this movie in the way that Hou hasn't made a movie in 8 years before this, you know, and so it's just very cool to see somebody come. It's like almost like you see somebody come back out of their prime, you know, and like I still got it, or or that they there's like no mistake about their identity and what they're able to do with the movie, especially with this movie, which is like it's a wuxia film. It's very like martial arts, but it's really not a martial arts movie. It is very much like a fairy tale, like a legend, you know. It's very much just feels like it feels like Kurosawa in a way, right? Like it feels like an epic, but on a smaller scale, I guess, right?
The irony.
Yeah.
The contradiction there.
Weirdly.
Yeah. No, I guess what you mean though. It's like a smaller story, but it feels grand.
Right.
Like the way that he is presenting this feels very like lofty, like the feels like a legend, like I said. I think that's the best way to put it, but
yeah. I don't know. How did you I'm taking you like this movie a lot.
Yeah, like, you know, so to be honest, I think a lot of like movies like these, it takes a while to like prepare. It takes a while to prepare your mind or like to like make your mind understand that it's not gonna be like other movies, right? It's something that you kind of have to like put your mindset in the right place to watch. I think a lot of times, because it's so many movies that we watch are so, like I said, it kind of feeds you, right? Like it just like spoon feeds you directly, and you don't really have to do a lot of work to watch movies. But I think that like for this movie and I think a lot of movies where a lot of more movies that are kind of make you think more, kind of give you that ability of, and also they don't treat you as like a child, but they kind of treat you as somebody who can think on their own and to make, you know, decisions and engage with the film. And I think that this film is one of those movies. And so like it's not the easiest thing to go into if you're just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna watch a movie. But I think that if you do engage with it, there's a lot to learn from it and a lot to gain from it.
Well, it's funny. I think the irony of that is this movie is not hard to understand.
It's not
whatsoever.
It's not. No.
The story is so basic.
Well, like honestly, people think that that's boring, right? Like it falls into like that category of like, oh, there's nothing going on. Right. That's the thing.
Like, oh, there's nothing insightful going on. You know? And like the way the movie ends, like nothing like crazy conclusive happens. She just
decided not to do the thing that she were told to do.
I'm just like, after the movie, I'm like it ends. I'm like, she just abandoned everything. Like she just
goes to escort some villager.
She just lives a whole new life for herself. Like that's literally the end of the movie. You know, and it's not like the movie isn't without stakes per se, because like there clearly are stakes, but the character just decides to forsake all of it. You know, and but basically, if you come out of the movie with the understanding of that, then that's literally all that there is. That the movie kind of like the story has to offer to you, honestly, because it's not even you really don't have to think that much. But I think like where you said, we're so used to being spoon fed and like given just exposition of exposition and like given a character's motive, like thoughts and like,
or not even just like spectacle, right? Like just like having that like energy and like that like bam boom, like this is happening and,
right
and like, you know, this is an intense moment, I'm gonna put you in the most intense moment as possible. And
we're just given like dopamine, just
right
dopamine,
we're given
dopamine.
Exactly. We're given so much of that, and I think this movie takes you kind of like a step away from that, and also like give you time to breathe and let you just like enjoy like the shot, like the like,
the mountain. Look at the mountain.
Yeah, look at the mountain.
Look at this pretty flower.
Like you feel a sense of like peace when you watch this movie. Like like a tranquility kind of comes over you when you're like looking at this mountain range and you're like,
even the action in itself, it's not like it's definitely cool, you know. And it's definitely harkens back to that like that wushu kind of martial arts, and there is the wire work that's there, but it's not glorified, and it's actually like it is played like a dance. It is very beautiful, you know, like it just feels flowery in a way, right? Even like at the beginning of the movie, she assassinates somebody and she's just like gracefully like you know, she's like a gazelle.
No, really,
and that just carries throughout the movie, like all the other fight scenes. There's a little bit of like adrenaline that's there, but it's so like silky. I don't know.
It's not played for the action. No. I feel like that's the thing, right? Like you're not given like this like crazy like music pumping like like, this is the action scene.
This is the action scene. We're gonna spend like 10 minutes. You know?
That's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love action movies. You know,
of course.
like they're great. But like this is not that movie. You know?
Which is funny, which is like really it's so against the grain because this movie is I think supports why it feels so like vintage and transportive, because it's made in 2015, like it's made in a modern time, and it's subject to like studio movies and like Hollywood, and like the way the movie is marketed is very much to like get your butt in a seat, like this is an action film, you know. I watched the trailer after watching the movie and I was just like, damn, I feel bad.
I didn't watch the trailer at all, actually. I've never watched the trailer before for this movie.
So I didn't either. I watched it. I waited to watch it afterward. Even from the poster, like you said, the poster itself alludes a different movie than what this is, in my opinion.
I don't know. I think it's well, which poster did you see?
The main one where it's just Yang Yang.
Yeah, it's just her?
Yeah.
That doesn't look like an action movie, though. Right?
But it feels more modern than what the movie actually is.
Modern?
I don't know. It just, the way that it looks, I would expect a whole different, every time I see it coming across the movie, because it was on Netflix for a while.
Oh, yeah,
it's
it
no
was
longer
on
there.
Netflix, yeah.
It just, every time I scroll past it, I'm like, I just didn't expect it to be
you kind of thought like, action movie.
Yeah, I don't. It's called The Assassin. Like, it's so like generic.
The title is very misleading. She does not assassinate, except for that very first guy.
Yeah.
Does she kill anyone else besides that?
Oh yeah.
No, like I mean like assassinate somebody.
Oh, like from behind the
like scenes? Actual. No, right? That's the only one.
Yeah, not really.
Right.
No.
Unless I'm missing somebody.
Because there's a beginning guy. The 4 scene is just straight action. She fights.
Besides fighting like soldiers and stuff, she doesn't assassinate anyone after the horse guy.
Yeah, that's true.
She doesn't assassinate. The non-assassin should be in the movie.
But she is a non-assassin.
That's what I'm saying. That's in the movie name. The non-assassin, you know? That would be the truthful telling of the story.
But like, so I watched the trailer afterward, and I shit you not,
did they just show the action shots?
All the action scenes are in the trailer. Every single one of them.
I see what they were going for.
Every single one of them.
I see what they were going for.
Every single one. I can, you say like, oh my god, like trailers like nowadays spoil the movie. Like they put so much in it. Blah, blah, blah. This movie straight up throws, without a guarantee, every action beat that the movie has to offer in the trailer.
Dang.
It's
I feel like some people might have been disappointed then.
yeah, no,
watching
it's
the movie.
very. That's what I'm saying. Like it's just funny to think about how, just like thinking about marketing and like how so misleading that it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Hou Hsiao-hsien was part of the decision making process for the trailer.
He's not.
Yeah, I could. I would bet a lot of money if I had money that he did not. Right? Like,
yeah, of course not.
But like just like thinking about like cutting a trailer, and like if I was the director and they cut a trailer that was kind of misleading in that way, I think I would probably be not very happy. Just because like you're setting a certain expectation, right? Like
yeah.
Like a
God bless you.
Like a tonal expectation for the movie.
Yeah.
With the trailer, and if it doesn't really do that, and a person has a bad taste going into the movie because of that, that's kind of on the trailer. Like, but the average moviegoer doesn't think, oh, the trailer person must have like cut it this way just to make it feel more actiony so that they can draw more people.
Yeah.
They think this director tricked me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was expecting that movie, not whatever that was.
So I like that's kind of that's an. I think I think Hideo Kojima, right? He cuts his own trailers. And stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like a cool thing. Like I think more directors should kind of like, if they are able to, should do that, because I mean, like, as much as like it's important, like as much as like it's a lot more of that like trailer stuff is marketing and advertisement side. It's not necessarily the filmmaking side. Yeah. And that's why they don't really go into that.
Right.
But if it is part of the whole process of a person watching the movie and going to get a person to watch the movie, I think it's really important to at least like have somebody or a group, a production company that you know or trust enough to create a trailer that you feel like is
conducive of what you
or like at least like you have the final say in approving the trailer or something.
Right. I mean, I get it, like, as somebody who likes marketing and sort of that side of business. Like, I totally understand, and like I said, it's just that as an audience, generally speaking, like, you're not gonna know that in reality the filmmaking process, the making it, like the final product and the marketing aspect of it are two separate worlds.
Yeah, but the other thing that I'm kind of thinking about it now too, though, is like how much more people came to watch the movie because it felt like an action trailer than it was. That's the thing, right? That's the dilemma, right? It's like if you do create a trailer in this way, then it has the possibility of bringing more people in. Yeah,
well, that's kind of like the double side. Well, that's like the double-sided coin, right?
Exactly.
Because it's like all the business side cares is like putting butts in seats and like viewership, right? Yeah. So like obviously you want to make something that's gonna bring people to watch it. It doesn't matter if they like it or not. Like it's numbers matter. Like they watch it,
Just the fact that they bought the ticket is kind of what matters, right?
Right. The opposite side of that is like obviously what the audience likes or ends up liking or disliking it or approves or disapproves of it, and how much of their opinion and experience is swayed by how they were brought into it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we got you to see it, but you ended up hating it because we misled you. Yeah. Like,
I mean, that's the weird thing though. It's like also if you think about it in another sense, it's like it might be a catalyst for them to experience something new. And maybe they like that experience. Sure. Like you can't really say that everyone who go into that movie would hate it just because they thought that it was an action movie, right? Then maybe somebody was pleasantly surprised and they really enjoyed the movie, right? Right. There are people like that as well, so you can't really say that like it will always end up in the bad way, right? Of course, So it's weird. It's like that weird like place where like you can't really make concrete like, oh yeah, this you can't do this way, but it just feels kind of like deceiving somebody, right? Or like misleading somebody in that way. But
like, I don't know. I think in a way, like, it is. I certainly have a lot of experiences where I'm like, wow, this movie looks really interesting. Or from a trailer and I watched it, I'm like, that was a completely different movie than what I was pitched, basically. And
it's either like you watch the trailer and you know everything about the movie and you go into it like, I watched the movie for the trailer. Or like it's like that where like you watch the trailer, you're like, this is such an exciting looking movie. I want to go watch it. And you're like,
which, it's funny because it's like, honestly, like, I don't know, as somebody who kind of understands both sides, you know, like, and I can watch a movie definitely, you know, separate it from like how it's brought into it. Yeah. Because I understand that. But also I'm like, damn, like, props on marketing and the, you know, the trailer production
for cutting it in such a way to make it look like
it's so good. Because that movie was trash. That movie was so bad. But that trailer made it look godlike.
Like,
you know what I mean?
You made me buy this ticket. You did a good job. Like
you literally like took trash and you made gold. You know?
Sometimes it's like you should have just made that into a short.
Honestly, yeah, like that trailer was the movie.
Yeah, that was the movie.
You made money from that.
Yeah, that's the funny part.
That's happened multiple times to me. You know?
So, for sure.
I mean, that's just them doing their job really well. But again, like.
It's like where's that balance between those two things, right?
Right. So, I don't know. You just once you have an understanding, like you can't. I think the more story is like it's not the default of the creators, right? Like it is two separate worlds, unless like I think it'd be an interesting world where, you know, like the Kojima route, he has creative control of everything. Like he really is an auteur, and definitely so when it comes to his marketing. He edits all the trailers. He comes up with like. He's known for his like schemes and mystery. And
his marketing.
In his marketing, right? Like
and stuff.
It's always a mystery about like what his next project is going to be. He plays on that and he like leverages that.
Yeah.
But it's all from him, you know, like the final product and how you are presented it is all through like the singular persona, right?
So it's like you can't really. There's no one to blame but him, right? if you think of it in like that way.
Right. And I think, you know, I'm not saying that like that is the one true route, you know, just because like we have one figure that's been really good and successful at it. Because I'm sure nobody's like.
I mean, I don't think you have to do it that way. I don't think that's necessarily like the way to do it. I just think that, you know, like finding that balance between like trailer and movie and something that sometimes it can be like I said, a pleasant surprise, but other times. You know, it can be a disaster. So it's so you kind of have to, you know, it's sometimes like it's like rolling a dice sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like most of the time now.
You know? Or sometimes you're shown all the cards.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, okay, do I really need to watch this movie? Like I already saw the trailer.
I think my biggest problem with that point is because like sometimes I actually tend to like try not to agree with that. But then where like I falter is like the fact that there's multiple trailers now. Like now,
like 5 different trailers of the same thing. Yeah.
Like trailer culture has become its own thing now, and now there's like at least 3 trailers. For the same movie before it releases.
Out. Yeah.
And it's like you basically show me.
You know that's actually that's one of the reasons why you know, like for example when I first when like Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced, and like, you know, they were starting to show like all the trailers and stuff, like I watched like the first 2 and then like the other ones I just didn't watch because I was like, I think like they're just gonna show everything. And like Square Enix had a tendency to do that for their other games too, like when I was like seeing Kingdom Hearts and stuff, I was like, oh, they showed literally everything. And so I was like I just kind of had the mindset of like, I'm just gonna go in like blind, like just don't see anything. And I had a better experience because of that. You know what I mean? Like
I think it's more rewarding for sure.
It really is. And I think same goes for movies too. Like that's why I tend to try not to watch a lot of movie trailers. Regardless. Like even if it's like a really good, like very subtle, very, you know, nuanced like trailer that they make for a movie. Sometimes just going in blind and just like letting it hit you like a truck it's so much more of a ride than like previously having certain like conceptions of the movie because of certain shots in the movie.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree. I tend to stick with just like the first trailer and then that's it. You know, and try not to go in. But it just is rewarding going in blind.
It's that dopamine, right? You get that dopamine when you watch that trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, you're getting that like, I finally have something of this thing that I've been wanting to see for like I've been waiting for, you know. And it's like if you're able to delay that, you know, delay gratification for a little bit, and actually go into it like with a fresh, you know, mind.
As the thing that I will stick by is just the other side of that is that the more that you feeding yourself into that, the more expectations you're giving yourself when you go actually see it, and you just deprive yourself of again like that, just that raw experience.
Yeah,
and you're gonna be fluxed either way. If you're shown something beforehand, by the time you go see it, like you are gonna be in flux between how you feel like, because you already have those preconceptions. You already have the expectation of like what the product is going to be.
Yeah, like if you see a certain shot of a movie and you're like, oh, I've been waiting to see this shot, like this part of the movie, and like it kind of, like you said, it like turns out like it's completely different, or like it turns out in a different way, and you're like, I didn't imagine it going this way. You kind of feel bummed out.
Right.
Whereas if you went into the movie without seeing anything like that, you're just like, oh yeah, I guess it is what it is.
Exactly. You don't know what to expect. You see it for what it is.
For what it is.
And at the end of the day, like it is what it is. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like
the
product itself never changes. Yeah.
You can't change that. So you're kind of throwing yourself under the bus at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. So more of the story, kids.
Don't watch trailers.
Don't watch trailers. Well, it's so funny. We're like way out there now, but I was it's like Kojima's an interesting route, but I'm playing or trying to play The Last of Us Part 2 right now. The show's great, by the way. So I'm watching the show and playing the second game, and the game kicks off like mid-story almost because I don't even remember like that really iconic Sony conference when they gave the first
show, The Last of Us 2.
The Last of Us Part 2. It was, I don't think it was like the first show.
You mean
it was
the dance, like the party thing?
The party thing. Yeah. That
is the beginning of the movie. Not the movie, the game.
Is the beginning. That happens before the game.
Ah.
It actually like kicks off like right after that. So you actually had to have seen that to understand like who that character was. And they like talk about that scene because they're like,
wait, that's not in the game though?
It's not in the game.
Oh.
No. You'd have to have seen that whole cut scene that was the trailer.
That's an interesting way of doing something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like having the trailer as part of the thing that you have to like it's not part of the actual like
it's not part of the final product.
Final product.
Like it is, but it's not part of the
Right. It's like a prequel to that kind of.
Exactly.
That's kind of interesting.
It's actually a prologue to the experience.
That's actually an interesting way of doing a trailer, actually.
Yeah. Because I played it, I'm booting it up, and I'm expecting to see this, and then I'm like realizing like, what are they talking about? I'm like, are they talking about that cutscene? And they're like, because they're like, oh yeah, I was like I kissed you that night, and then like the whole thing, and it kind of ruffles some feathers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just like follows right after that.
You know, like it's kind of funny because certain movies, certain trailers, like they use shots like that were like either like throwaway shots or like certain, you know what I mean?
Times I did
they use shots that are not actually part of the movie
or a different take
different take of them. Yeah, I think they did that for Spider-Man too. Spider-Man, the one with the Peter Parker, the 3 Peter Parkers.
Yep.
I think they did that for that because there was one shot where it's like in the movie it's actually 3 Spider-Mans that are like attacking, but it's just the one Peter Parker who's like
that movie garners like the most investigation because they're like, but look, the 2 bad guys have like animations of being attacked.
Exactly.
And they're like, but there's nothing there.
Yeah. So kind of like that, but I mean that's more like we're trying to like fake you out kind of thing. But I think like, you know, just using different like moments, like either like deleted scene kind of things to actually be part of the trailer might be kind of interesting too.
Yeah.
Or even just like that prologue kind of thing. That's an interesting way of doing a trailer.
Yeah, that was a neat surprise that I found when I was watching it. So
because like you kind of feel like, for me, you kind of feel robbed when you're seeing a scene in a trailer, and you see it again, you're like, ah, man, like, as much as like I love the fact that like I'm seeing it, you kind of feel cheated in a certain way. You're like,
exactly,
man, I feel kind of dirty for
that's one way to say it.
I feel dirty for watching this. I've
already seen this.
I should not have seen this. My eyes. It's not in the right context. My eyes are kind of ruined.
That's the worst part. Is when you actually see the scene or the joke in context, and it's not funny anymore, or it's like,
or they ruin it in the trailer because it's like different, out of context. And then you watch it in the actual scene, and it's like, oh, that makes sense in context, but you ruined it already. So like, I'm already thinking about the one you ruined. Like stuff like that.
What does it for me is it's not even like, the action bit is one thing, like throwing all the action in the trailer, like fine. It's the comedy stuff, because that's like true robbery. Because it's like, I don't know, I feel like I get like a good amount of dopamine.
They throw half of the comedy bits in the trailer.
Well, it's actually this. It's like, because if you show me all the action scenes in a trailer, like if that's all it has to offer, like rip, fine, like robbed. But the action scene was cool. I'll see it again, like I'll enjoy like watching it, and then like, the full sequence of it, like, that's an experience. But if you rob a joke from me, I can't get that back.
Right.
There's no way of experiencing
play back the punchline, and you're like, okay, it's still not working.
yeah. Like that's a one-hit wonder, bit. So if you throw all the comedy and the funny moments in a trailer, and then I see the movie and that was that was it, like,
no, it's kind of like this, like certain trailers are like, okay, we're gonna throw the best bits into this trailer so that they come into the movie, and then you go into the movie, you're like, okay, those were the best bits of the movie. And like they were really just like, we just had to do that because basically that's the only way we could draw you into the movie. Other movies are like, they give you all the crap, and no one goes watch the movie. So it's like it's like how much like gas do you have in the tank? Right? If you don't have much gas, you're just gonna use that all for the trailer. But if you have some in the tank, then you can kind of be lenient about what you put in the trailer. That's funny. It's a funny tangent about trailers, but
hey God.
Yeah, definitely. I guess this one didn't do it any favors, according to you.
No, I didn't. Yeah, watching the trailer for The Assassin, it was just like the point being like feeling really bad for anybody that watched the trailer to watch the movie, and it's just completely two different.
That'd be pretty fun, like talking about differences between trailer and movie as like a thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
like a dichotomy. Of,
just seeing like how trailers and movies differ, and like if it helped or if it doesn't help, and all that stuff. Like especially like mystery and thriller stuff.
Right.
It's like you really have to kind of be careful for that.
Yeah, which honestly do a better job.
Do they?
Like I think so.
Yeah, because they're probably more conscious of it, right? Like
right.
They really have to be more like mindful of the fact that
I'm thinking of like Knives Out. Like those were fine trailers. Like they were, they enticed you enough and like set up like, oh, this is a classic whodunit, and like here's like all the A-list stars, and it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. But nothing is short of like the actual plot of the movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I don't know. What were we talking about?
Trailers.
Yeah.
Anyways, this movie, The Assassin, really beautiful movie.
Yeah.
I'd recommend you watch it.
Do you think that Hou Hsiao-hsien will come back for another movie?
I'm sure he would. Yeah.
I think so.
I think he's the kind of director that doesn't feel obligated to make a movie.
No,
like if he wants to make something, I think he does, and I think that's cool. I think that's how it should be, really. Like he's not really the cash grabby kind of guy where like he feels the need to make a movie to make money kind of thing. I think if he really feels like this is something that he wants to do, he does it, and I think that's why his movies are the way they are, and I think that's he's adding to the culture of the world, I think, in that by doing so. So
yeah, I think that's like the
props
biggest thing. He really does it for like the love of the craft and doing it, and having that element of like for himself, like I like he did this project because this is something that really stuck with him, and when he was finally able to have the time, and it just kind of was like all he could think about was putting this project together. He did it. But a lot of the things he does as well is for the culture.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are people who probably watch this movie and they don't like it.
Yeah.
But I think that there are directors like these that I think are not technically commercially like always the most successful.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important to have these kinds of directors who are willing to explore and experiment with the medium of film in ways that that the mainstream kind of filmmaking are either not wanting to do because it's not profitable, or just it's not the way that they make films. And I think that it's important to put these these kinds of directors and show allow them to thrive, because I think they are part of the group that pushes the boundaries of filmmaking.
Yeah. It is,
whether you like it or not. A lot of times,
right.
Sometimes, there's some certain movies that I don't really vibe with that are kind of like these, but I think they should still be there because they add to a kind of tapestry of filmmaking that exists.
Yeah, we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Yeah,
the richness of it.
Yeah, exactly. It is solely for the craft, which is nice.
I mean, I think it's fairly entertaining too. I think I think the word entertaining in the general sense is kind of not right, but I think in the sense of like seeing the movie and being like awestruck by what he's like showing on screen, just like the beauty of it is really entertaining for me, at least.
Yeah. I mean, there are things that I can definitely appreciate and aspects that I like about the movie, even if if personally like maybe the story was a little too simple for me, or everything was kind of I guess like boring in that sense, but again, like I totally agree with you. I would rather have this be here than not be here at the end of the day, for sure. And even if it's like I said, like entertainment does have a very broad sort of meaning,
like the general like idea of what that means.
Yeah. But it doesn't take away from the fact that like I like looking at the movie, and I'm still able to think about it. I'm still able to like educate myself on it in that sense. So yeah, I think it was, I don't know, I don't know what I can gather, like this movie was made 8 years from his last project. He kind of did it like kind of a sprung thing. The reason why he's been working as like head of a lot of film festivals, apparently, like he is definitely about the craft and progressing film in that sense. So I would love to see him do another thing in his time, but it's a thing that he also recognized. Like he really wanted to do this now because he was like, he's at that age, and he's like, if I don't do this now, then I'm probably never gonna do it.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, I would really like to see him. But we're going backwards, so
he's getting only younger.
He's only getting younger, baby. It's all in perception. If we see it going back,
that's the beauty of timeless films. You can always go back.
You can always go back. Yeah, I think I don't really know much about his filmography outside of A Time to Live and A Time to Die and this movie, and they're very different movies in the subject and what they're about, but the way that they're portrayed is pretty similar. There's definitely a through line that's there. But it's from what I can tell, like he has a very like diversifying like subject matter in his movies. So like next week will be Millennium Mambo, and that's sort of the club, sort of like the drug world, right? And that's very different.
Same actress, I think, is in this movie.
Oh,
Shuki, I think.
Shuki? Okay, interesting.
I mean, yeah. The assassin.
Yeah.
The non-assassin.
Maybe it's all in the same universe. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, she time traveled.
Dun, dun, dun. Maybe she's a vampire assassin thing.
Maybe.
You know, she was perched up in the tree.
That's funny. Yeah, that was funny. Where like she's always like hiding on the top of the building.
Yeah,
and she just drops down.
Even like as an assassin, she's never ninja.
You know what's weird? They like don't know that it's her, but she doesn't even like wear a face.
That's what I'm saying. She's the worst sneaky assassin because even when we see her in the shadows, she's just like almost in plain sight.
Yeah,
like she's just like in between some trees. You know.
and like they're like, oh, it's a woman in a black robe.
Yeah.
But like they know who she is. She's like the the daughter of the uncle of the guy. So it's like what do you mean you're not sure who the assassin is? It's literally the person you know. So yeah, it's kind of funny.
She's like, what does she do? She's spying on them, but she's literally at the doorway behind some shears.
Like she's just watching them through the shears, and like they're like, huh? Yeah.
And he literally is like, I see you. Right.
Exactly. Like not even trying to hide. Well, I guess she was technically not really trying to hide there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but it's just kind of funny, like how blatant she is in all of the things that she does. Oh, she ain't no ninja. That's for sure.
That's for sure. I don't know what
different kind of assassin.
Masterful assassin.
Yeah. But for next week, yeah, we're gonna watch Millennium Mambo. What year was that?
I think 2001.
2001.
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one should be. I'm not sure where it's available. Can't look it up right now. But yeah, this one's like my interesting pick. Again, going back to I've never seen any trailers or anything about it. The cover looks really cool. So I see it all the time. Like I know it's pretty. It's pretty out there. So.
It's pretty, yeah. It's one of his more famous films.
So I'm really looking forward to this one for sure. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Pretty much it. Yep.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week for Millennium Mambo as we continue on with the HHH Retrospective. Until next week.
Bye.